Dear students, having discussed Keynesian theory of demand for money, we now consider Keynesian theory of interest rate determination. In the classical theory, rate of interest is a real phenomena determined by the twin forces of productivity and thrift, that is, supply of savings and demand for investment. Whereas in the Keynesian theory, the rate of interest is determined by supply of money and demand for money. That is, in the Keynesian theory, interest rate is a monetary phenomenon. Interest rate is a monetary phenomenon. And we have analyzed in detail the factors affecting demand for money, factors determining demand for money. Now we consider how equilibrium rate of interest is determined in the Keynesian model by considering the supply of money also. And in the Keynesian model, money supply is assumed to be an exogenously controlled policy variable denoted by MS. Money supply is determined by the central bank of the country. And we have studied money supply, factors determining money supply, etc. in detail in the previous classes. And equilibrium in the money market requires that money supply is equal to money demand. That is, in real terms, MD is equal to MS. So, whatever is the stock of money, it should be held by someone, either in nominal terms or in real terms. And we know that money supply is equal to currency plus reserves, and its value is determined by, currency plus demand deposits, and its value is determined by monetary base, currency plus reserves, and also the value of the money multiplier. And the supply of money held by the public will change over time as a result of the actions by the central bank, as a result of the actions of the central bank. That is, monetary policy adopted by the central bank of the country, open market operations, change in the cash reserve ratio, etc., etc. And real money stock corresponding to any nominal money stock change with a change in prices. Even if you have a given nominal stock, real stock changes with a change in the prices. But for the time being, we assume that the real stock of money is given, and real stock of money is given are the rate of interest and M, money. Now we assume that the real stock of money is constant at MS. This real stock of money is a function of the policies adopted by the central bank. MS is the real money stock, and the money demand schedule MD is equal to MT plus MSP. There is a gap here. This gap is, as I told you, the transaction demand for money. And given the level of income and also the money supply, equilibrium occurs at a rate of interest equal to, say, 8%, where transaction plus precautionary plus speculative mode is equal to, say, 110. Equilibrium in the money market is determined by equality between supply of money and demand for money. And in the Keynesian analysis, rate of interest is a monetary phenomena determined by the supply of money and the demand for money. So when the supply of money is 110, the rate of interest 8% ensures that money supply is equal to money demand. If the rate of interest is, say, 10%, as you can see, say, money demand is only 105. Money demand is only 105, whereas money supply is 110. So there is an increase in the supply of money, or money supply exceeds money demand. Since someone must hold money, public will find that their actual holding, supply of money means money held by the public. They realize that their holding of money is in excess of what is required by them. So what they will do is, they will enter the bond market to buy bonds with this excess cash. When the money holders enter the bond market with the objective of purchasing bonds, demand for bonds increases relative to the supply of bonds. Demand for bonds increases relative to the supply of bonds. As a result, price of bond will increase. And when the price of bond increases, yield or the return on bond will decrease. That is, R will decrease. So if there is an excess supply of money, wealth holders will enter the market with the objective of purchasing more bonds. It increases demand for bonds in relation to supply of bonds, and the price of bond will increase and the rate of interest will decrease until it becomes 8%. Equilibrium is restored. Suppose that the rate of interest is only 7%. Only 7%. And as you can see here the demand for money exceeds the supply of money. Money demand is, say, 115, whereas money supply is only 110. So here the people will realize that they are holding more bonds and less money. So naturally they will enter the bond market to sell bonds. When they try to sell bonds, price of bonds will decrease because supply of bonds in relation to demand for bonds increases. There is a reduction in the price of bonds, and this causes an increase in the interest rate. That is return on bonds, until rate of return again becomes 8%. So in this way, if there is a disequilibrium in the money market, this disequilibrium will be corrected by the interaction between money and bonds. And equilibrium rate of interest is determined by intersection between money demand and money supply. Now, like other prices, interest rate is the price of money, and it increases or decreases in accordance with the increase or decrease in the demand for money. Now, assuming no offsetting changes in prices, assuming that prices are held constant, real money supply changes as the central bank increases what is known as increases or decreases nominal stock of money. And on the same assumption, demand for money changes as the level of income changes or speculative demand changes. So, assuming that prices are held constant, this money supply will increase or decrease when the central bank of the country increases or decreases money supply. Money demand schedule is also affected if there is an increase in the level of income or a decrease in the level of income, because this money demand schedule is drawn for a particular level of income. And also if the speculative demand for money changes. So, for example, and also it is possible that a change in the value of one variable will affect the value of the other variable also. For example, as we have seen, money supply increases, rate of interest decreases, and it stimulates investment and income increases. A reduction in interest rate stimulates investment and hence income increases. And when income increases, transaction demand for money increases, because transaction demand for money is proportionately related to the level of income. So, as income increases, transaction demand increases, and it increases the rate of interest. An increase in the transaction demand for money, if the transaction demand for money increases with the money supply held constant, when money supply increases, rate of interest, and when income increases, transaction demand increases. Transaction demand increase can be met only by selling bonds. That increases the rate of interest. When you sell bonds, supply of bonds increases relative to the demand, price of bond decreases or increases, and above R increases above to a level at which it increases at a level above the decrease in R resulting from an increase in the money supply. So, equilibrium rate of interest will change if there is a change in the supply of money, a change in the level of income, and also a change in the speculative demand for money. And also these variables are interrelated. Now, in the next session we will consider each of these changes separately on the equilibrium rate of interest.